Joining me right now to lay it all out for us is Louisiana Congressman. He is House Minority Whip, Steve Scalise. Congressman, it's always a pleasure to see you. Thanks very much for being here.
Good morning. It's great to be with you, Maria.
How does this week play out? Talk to us about these three bills that Nancy Pelosi thinks will go swimmingly. She says she's very confident that you're going to get a vote on infrastructure, a move forward on reconciliation, and the vote to increase the debt ceiling.
Yeah, it's going to be a very intense week with a lot at stake. And you look at this package of now over $5 trillion. When you think about the tax increases over the weekend, Saturday they had the big tax and spend bill in the budget committee, and it got even bigger. And in fact, now they can't even tell you how much it's going to cost because it's so large, but it grew by about $1 trillion over the last 2 weeks, if you can imagine that. And they still think it's all just something that's going to have no impact on the economy when you literally add trillions in new taxes that would run jobs out of America. And they've packaged it with an infrastructure bill. And of course, look, we've wanted to pass infrastructure since Donald Trump was in office. What they've done is hold infrastructure hostage to more than $5 trillion in new government spending with massive tax increases that, by the way, will hit low-income middle-class families with things like a natural gas tax, so many other taxes that are in this bill. So, Maria, a lot at stake in addition to the government funding and the debt ceiling. And right now they don't have the votes because Speaker Pelosi was going to vote weeks ago on infrastructure. Then tonight was going to be the vote on infrastructure. Now she's pushing that back to Thursday because she's packaged it together with this massive tax and spend bill. And it all comes to a head by the end of this week.
So do you think infrastructure can pass without the massive spending plan, or do you think that your colleagues on the left, the progressives, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, will not vote for the infrastructure plan and that will hold that up unless she sees that the spending plan is moved forward?
Well, infrastructure should have been decoupled from all of the other taxes and spending from the very beginning. And they made a tactical decision months ago. If you remember, when some Republican senators worked with Democrats to get a Senate negotiated infrastructure bill, President Biden immediately, within an hour, cut a side deal with Speaker Pelosi and Chuck Schumer to tie it all to the tax and spend bill. And so you've always had this massive train with trillions of dollars of debt, by the way, not just taxes and spending, but massive trillions in new debt. And it's all gonna come to a head because they've packaged it together to their most far radical left base. And I'm talking about the squad, those that want things like the Green New Deal, things that would really make American energy uncompetitive. It's one of the reasons why you've got President Biden going to OPEC and Russia, begging them to make more oil while he's shutting down pipelines and oil production in America. It's insane policy. It's one of the reasons we have so much inflation, Maria, across the country. And it's not just higher gas prices. When you go to the grocery store, you're paying more for everything you buy. Do you really think that's going to get better or worse when you add trillions of dollars of new debt and new taxes to our American economy? Clearly, this would be an inflation booster as well at a time when families shouldn't be able to be having that dumped on them.
Yeah, I think the public would really just like to hear some honesty from this administration. I mean, a minute ago, you just said $5 trillion spending package. And I know that there are a lot of gimmicks in this $3.5 trillion bill, which actually makes it $5.5 trillion, because in the bill, they've got expectations that some of these programs like the child care credit goes away in 2025, goes away in 2024, which is unlikely. But we know that it's costing trillions of dollars, and yet President Biden on Friday said it was free. Listen to this. Watch this.
Every time I hear this is going to cost A, B, C, or D, the truth is, based on the commitment that I made, it's going to cost nothing because we're going to raise the revenue.
And why is that $3.5 trillion figure misleading?
The bill itself will not cost $3.5 trillion in the sense that it will be entirely or at least partly paid for.
So that was President Biden, and then right after President Biden, a Washington Post reporter who mimicked exactly what he said, that it's not going to cost anything, Congressman, it's free.
Right. What fantasy land do they live in when raising taxes trillions of dollars and, oh, by the way, adding more and more to the debt? They can't even tell you how much it costs going into Saturday's Budget Committee vote. After Saturday's Budget Committee vote, it got more expensive. So we're well over $5 trillion. Most of it's not paid for. And, oh, by the way, President Biden's promise, you remember nobody making under $400,000 will pay a dime in new taxes? Tell that to the people who use natural gas in America. If you heat your home during the winter or cool your home during the summer with natural gas, you're going to see about a 14% tax increase in this bill by President Biden. He breaks that promise to you. If you go to a hospital, by the way, those hospitals' costs will go up. He promised your hospital costs, your health care costs would go down. Those costs will now go up. So many broken promises by President Biden. And now he's going to say, don't worry, it doesn't cost anything. Tell that to the millions of people who are going to lose their jobs when jobs are shipped overseas. We saw this before the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, Maria. You saw great companies moving overseas every day. Not a single company, 0 companies have left America since we cut taxes. That created millions new jobs and higher wages for lower income families. All that goes away with this bill. There's a serious cost, especially to middle income and lower income families who will pay the brunt of it in the form of higher inflation, higher costs of doing business, and higher electric bills.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. There's a gas shortage right now in the UK, which is quite frightening. But I want to, real quick before you go, get your take on this element of the bill that requires banks to report to the Treasury all the flows of their customers, because this is quite intrusive. And I know that this is not in the bill right now, but what is in the bill is Joe Biden wants to hire 80,000 new auditors for the IRS. Are banks going to be required to report all transactions $600 or more to the IRS so that those 80,000 auditors can try to follow the money and tax us even more? What are your thoughts on this intrusive element that Joe Biden wants to put in this bill, which would require banks to report all transactions over $600?
Yeah, Maria, this is a very alarming component of this bill. Again, it's so massive, over $5 trillion, that there's more and more things that come out on it every day. We just started hearing about that about 2 weeks ago. We tried to put a provision in the bill to block the ability for the government to track transactions of anybody making a $600 transaction or more. Again, this isn't the millionaires and the billionaires they keep talking about. This is regular, everyday Americans. And they blocked the provision that would have said you can't do that. And, oh, by the way, they still hire those thousands of IRS agents, an army of new IRS agents. Do you really think they're going to be there to help you mow your lawn or clean your house or just to raise your taxes? Of course, that's what it's going to be about. Right. It's going to be raising more taxes from hardworking families making well below $100,000 a year. And again, I'm not just talking about the natural gas tax that they have in this bill. We tried to take that tax out. They've got a big giveaway that they're giving away to millionaires and billionaires in the New York, New Jersey states. I mean, everything about this bill goes against what President Biden promised, and it would crush our economy and increase inflation that's already too high, hitting low-income families. Yeah.
Well, that was the point of putting that element in there, so that they could raise $300 billion to put the SALT deduction back in. So it's like, wait, you're going to zero in and find out what individuals are doing, withdrawing $600 from their account, and they're doing it so that they could appease those people who want the SALT deduction back in there, the rich billionaires and millionaires. It absolutely doesn't make sense. Steve, we got to jump, but we didn't even get to the border. No, you can't. 12,000 people being let out into the United States. Unbelievable. Congressman, it's good to see you. Thanks very much for all of your efforts. We'll catch up soon. Congressman Steve Scalise.